So today I'm speaking to Claire Goodwin, who used to work as a marine biologist with Ulster Museum, running marine surveys around Northern Ireland and diving. And Claire also spent some time as coordinator for Seasearch Northern Ireland. So Claire, thank you so much for speaking to me today. And first I was going to ask you to describe where you are right now and what you're doing.
Right now, I work for the Huntsman Marine Science Centre, and that's in New Brunswick in Canada, so a bit different to diving around Northern Ireland. I manage, I'm a curator at the Atlantic Reference Centre Marine Museum, and I'm also a research scientist working on taxonomy and biodiversity projects.
I'm wondering which came first. Were you a diver first and then you became a marine biologist, or was it the other way around?
It's a bit like the chicken and egg situation, isn't it? I actually got into marine biology through sailing, funnily enough. I did a lot of sailing in my teens, and then I decided I wanted to spend more time at sea, and that's what actually got me interested in marine biology and learning a bit more about the creatures of the sea. And then once I started my degree at Liverpool University, I immediately wanted to learn to dive. So I started diving when I got to university.
And what brought you to Northern Ireland?
I actually came across to Northern Ireland to do my PhD at Queen's University Belfast. And that was a PhD, it was freshwater, so it's a bit of a departure from marine. I worked on lamprey for my PhD. But I wanted to keep up with my marine research as well. And that's when I got involved in Seasearch and actually coordinating the Seasearch Northern Ireland project.
And how long were you involved with Seasearch?
Oh gosh. Probably, it would have been over 10 years. I can't remember exactly how long now.
So you've dived all around Northern Ireland, and then of course you worked on projects with Ulster Museum dive team.
That's right. So I joined the museum after my PhD to work as a marine biologist with Bernard Picton, who's the curator of marine invertebrates. And with Bernard, we did a series of research projects. Well, I initially joined to work on sponges. It was a survey of the sponges of Rathlin Island. And then we got involved with Northern Ireland's Environment Agency, as they were then, which are now DIRA. And they were wanting assistance with a survey of marine protected species and habitats, because it was at the time when Northern Ireland was setting up marine protected areas. So Bernard and I worked with their dive team, including Joe Breen and Stephanie Bennett, and various other people, to actually survey sites around the Northern Ireland coast. We'd be out each summer for between 8 and 10 weeks diving work, surveying different sites.
And were you exploring new sites at this stage, or were these sites that you knew something about?
Some of the sites have been previously surveyed during the Northern Ireland Sublittoral Survey, which was a survey Bernard worked on in the 80s. So some of the sites we had some information from. So the initial project we worked on, we were actually looking at changes in species distributions from the Northern Ireland Sublittoral Survey to the Sublittoral Survey Northern Ireland, which is the one we did in 2008. So that was over a 30-year period. We were looking at seeing how the species distributions had changed in Northern Ireland and looking at whether some of the protected species in Northern Ireland waters were still actually present or not. That was all around the coast. So we did, it depended on that initial project, it depended where the species had been recorded from. So some of them have very restricted distribution, so we had to go back to very particular sites, and others were more widespread. So we tried to survey, it was all around the coast from Strangford Lough right round to the border with Ireland in the north.
Those reports from those dives are available online, and we've included links to them on the website.
We spent 6 weeks on Rathlin surveying sponges.
Finding new species, or new species to Northern Ireland?
Both. So we actually found 30 species new to science in total. Quite a few of those we have described. There were taxonomic issues with some of them, so some of them haven't actually been formally described yet. But a lot of, on just one small island, a lot of new species to science. So that was quite exciting. We were doing a lot of sampling of the encrusting species. So a lot of divers are familiar with the big species, the massive species of sponges that you can see that form the nice branching forms or maybe cup shapes. But a lot of sponge biodiversity is the very, very thin crusts. And those are the ones that people often overlook in surveys. So actually, if you go and survey encrusting sponges, you find a lot more diversity there. And Rathlin particularly has a really good encrusting sponge diversity all around it. You've got the full force of the North Channel, all the water coming into the North Channel between Ireland and Scotland. That tidal flow is very, very strong because the water's all funneling in through that narrow gap where Rathlin is and where the maidens are. So that's a really good environment for sponges because all that rushing water brings a lot of food particles to them. So there is an element of it is particularly good location for sponges, but also, as you say, they are really under surveyed and under recorded. I got my first camera just after I finished my PhD, so that was when I started taking underwater photos. And it was a big part of our survey work. When we were surveying sites, it's really good to have both good habitat shots and good macro shots for species. So it was a very steep learning curve for me, and obviously it was great working with Bernard, who was such an experienced photographer, and also Joe Breen, who was very experienced photographer and videographer as well. It's actually surprising about how little we know about the underwater environment around Northern Ireland. So although quite a few sites have been surveyed, there's lots of gaps in between that haven't been. And one of the sites we worked on with Seasearch and proposed for designation was the Ardglass Gullies, which are an area near the Ardglass on the east coast of Northern Ireland. And they've actually got these really interesting geological formations. So you get these gullies in between sheer rock faces. And they're quite a unique geological environment. So we did some survey work on those with Seasearch divers. We went in and sort of looked at the gullies and recorded the species that were present on them. But actually just got some good imagery of what they look like underwater. Because it was something that hadn't been picked up before on, there's a lot of multi-beam sonar mapping of seabed now, but features like that are actually quite hard to map still. So it's something that hadn't been characterised very well previously.
during all that time that you were diving here, and this includes your time with Seasearch as well, do you have any favourite sites or memorable sites?
So many to choose from. Northern Ireland's got some fantastic diving. I mean, I guess it has to be the North Wall of Rathlin Island, which is probably what everyone else has said too.
Yep.
I mean, it's just such a fantastic site to dive, and just those steep sea cliffs dropping off, and you can get dropped in, and you're just free falling down a wall, and the wall is absolutely covered with life, just anemones and soft corals and sponges, of course. Hydroids, just absolutely packed, and it changes along the wall. So you'll be in one part of the wall, and obviously when you move along slightly, the current will be slightly different or something, and you end up with a completely different community there. So it's really interesting where it changes. And then the arch down on the bottom of the wall is really beautiful too. I genuinely think that Northern Ireland has some of the best diving in the world. I should say that I'm much more of a cold water diver than a warm water diver, so I find cold water sites much more interesting for some reason. I don't know why, because it's obviously more uncomfortable to dive in cold water. But I find cold water areas a little more interesting to me. I think Northern Ireland's special because it's got such a diversity of species. You've got the warmer water species and the colder water species, and quite often they're at the extent of their range in Northern Ireland. So you've got those two sort of faunas mixing, so you get a really good diversity of species. And then just the range of sites that you've got in Northern Ireland is so great. You've got the sheltered waters of Strandwood Loch, so you've got your horse mussel beds and your seagrass beds in there. And then you've got the really tide-swept communities you get on Rathlin Island and the Maidens, and on the Skerries as well. So it's just such a range of species in the habitats you get.